Professor Bright here, and we are going to go through an example for week 2 with the professional problem and specifically focusing on the skills for this week. And again, when the professional problems are graded this week, they will be graded based on the 2 videos for this week as well as the videos from last week. Okay, so last week we kind of talked about the skeleton for the professional problem and then the different pieces that go in there. So you are still accountable to produce that information in your professional problems, but also you have to focus on the 2 skills for this week, which were the audience, being mindful of the audience, and some of the math writing that we started to introduce. Okay, so for this week I have set out, or I've chosen an example and kind of set up my paper as I normally would from last week. However, this week I'm going to skip the entry phase, so let's say maybe all this is the entry, okay, and then leave a line, and I'm going to start the attack. Okay, and again, in the attack is where I would actually go through solving the problem. Okay. Alright, so the goal of this problem is to evaluate the limit. If it exists, I'm going to tell you that it does. And so I might just start off with, again, I've already done the math on the side. I might start out by saying the first attempt to evaluate the limit is to, or that, okay, so I'm recognizing that I'm making a mistake here. I'm forgetting that audience factor, right? So again, I'm just going to write this off. So I want to focus on the audience and I want to focus on the math writing, okay? So let's maybe revise what I've written here. So maybe say the first attempt we make. Okay, so let's erase all this. Okay, so the first attempt we make at evaluation is the direct substitution property. Okay, when this is done, we obtain, okay, and then now I'm going to do some of that math writing that we were talking about. So I would say limit as x approaches -2 of x plus 2 over x cubed plus 8. And now again, I'm writing this on its own line because I consider this a longer expression or equation. Okay, and then I'm going to do an equal sign using the Oklahoma rule. And then now I'm going to evaluate. Let me erase this, and it's not erasing. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to write this out as -2 plus 2 over -2 cubed plus 8, and this is going to give me 0 over 0. Okay, and I'm going to conclude this with a period because it's the end of my sentence. Okay, now one thing I want you to think about and ask yourself, okay, I chose to do it this way, but this step here, that's arithmetic, right? And this is where the art of writing a math professional problem is a little nebulous, okay? So is this needed? I don't know. I included it. I could certainly see you not including it too, okay? And you could just jump straight to 0 over 0, okay? Alright, so I'm going to continue. And feel free. I'm going to make another note here now that I recognize this. Okay, you take a lot of space. Okay, it is we prefer you to take up a lot of space with your math writing so that everything is clear. Okay, rather than try to squeeze everything in one line. Okay, and I'm going to continue. Since this is undefined, we need to explore other algebra routes to evaluate. We notice and let me get rid of that. We notice that the denominator factors after factoring and reducing the limit becomes, and I'm going to scroll down here just a little bit. Let me do select, okay, and so then I'm going to do, I'll come down here, limit as x approaches -2, x plus 2, and this should factor as x plus 2, x squared minus 2x plus 4, and I'm going to do equals limit as x approaches -2 of 1 over x squared minus 2x plus 4. Okay, and I can close that in parentheses, I don't need to. Okay, so notice here I'm trying to do that block texting that we talked, or that block of math text that we talked about too. So if you can set it up like that, it's really nice. And now I would just continue this, and I should indent here. If it's going to let me, there we go. This can now be evaluated. Evaluating, we find, and that should actually be over there, we find that the limit is, and then I'm just going to do limit as x approaches -2 of 1 over x squared minus 2x plus 4, and then now here I'm going to skip showing the evaluation because that is just arithmetic. So I'd get 4 minus 4 plus 4, so I get 1 over 4. And make sure to include that period. Okay, because it is the end of a math sentence. Okay, and then after this I would go on to the reflect and the conclude, which I will let you complete on your own, okay, based on last week's video. Okay, so again, just to summarize what we focused on here, I wanted to make sure to stress the audience. Okay, so let's see where I did that. I said, okay, we, right? I said we in several different places, pretty much in every sentence. The only one that I did not include that we in, or that active voice, was this sentence here. This can now be evaluated. That's fine. That has passive voice and That's, a little passive voice is okay at this point. Okay. Didn't include any condescending statements. Okay. And I also made sure to exclude arithmetic, especially at the later part. Here up at the top, I could have excluded that if I wanted to. It's a style thing. And then the second part, again, was working on that math, and I was sure to, I didn't need to define my variables here, because if you look back up at the prompt, there really wasn't a context in which I had to work with x, so if there was a context, I would have defined x. And then after that, what did I do? I made sure to indent, right here. I indented the text where I needed to. I followed the Oklahoma rule. And actually I didn't really follow the Oklahoma rule. Oops, that's my bad. So here, this equal sign should actually be on the next line. So again, I should probably revise this, and that's fine. You really do not want a sequence of equal signs. Okay, so that's my fault. Okay, and I would score myself lower on my own submission. Okay, so I would probably get a 7, not an 8. Okay, then indented the text and punctuated my statements as needed, and I see now that I need a period right there as well. That's a period. Okay, so that is kind of an example of the skills for this week. Again, maybe you want to organize a little bit differently, and certainly always remember that there's different ways of assembling the puzzles, or the puzzle pieces here with the language. The math part, that's going to probably remain the same. It's just how you wish to communicate and explain your reasoning here. That's highly variable. Okay, so that's the end of this video. Look for the next videos later next week.